The old house creaked and groaned around me, sounds I'd grown used to in the 3 months I'd lived there. It was a charming, isolated place, surrounded by a dense, ancient forest. The kind of place you move to when you want to escape the noise of the city to find peace. But that night, the peace was shattered. It started with a sound, a faint, rhythmic tapping against the glass of my study window. At first, I dismissed it. A branch maybe swaying in the wind. The forest was always alive with sounds. But the tapping was too deliberate, too consistent. Tap, tap. I tried to ignore it, focusing on the blinking cursor on my laptop screen, but the sound wormed its way into my concentration. It was like a metronome counting down to something I couldn't comprehend. Finally, with a sigh of frustration, I got up and walked to the window. The moon was hidden behind thick, dark clouds, casting the yard into near-total darkness. I pressed my face close to the cold glass, peering out into the gloom. Nothing, just the dark shapes of trees, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for the sky. I shrugged, convincing myself it was just my imagination, a writer's mind playing tricks on me. I went back to my desk, but the moment I sat down, the tapping started again. Tap, tap, tap. This time it was louder, more insistent. A shiver traced its way down my spine. It wasn't a branch. It was something else, something intentional. My heart began to hammer against my ribs. Who would be out there, in the middle of nowhere, at this time of night? I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? There's a strange tapping on my window. They'd think I was crazy. So I did the next best thing. I grabbed the heavy iron poker from the fireplace, my hand trembling slightly. Armed with my makeshift weapon, I crept back to the window. I took a deep breath and quickly pulled back the curtains. My blood ran cold. Staring back at me, its face pressed against the glass, was a creature I can only describe as a nightmare made real. It wasn't human. It was tall and unearthingly thin, its limbs long and spidery. Its skin was the color of pale stone, stretched taut over a gaunt skeletal frame. But its eyes were what truly terrified me. They were huge, black, and completely devoid of any light or emotion, like two deep, dark pools of oil. I screamed, stumbling backward, the poker clattering to the floor. The creature didn't react. It just stared, its black eyes fixed on me. Its mouth, a thin, lipless slit, slowly opened to reveal rows of small, needle-like teeth. It didn't make a sound, but I could feel its presence, a suffocating aura of malevolence that filled the room. My mind raced. Was I hallucinating? Was this a dream? I pinched my arm hard. The sharp sting of pain confirmed I was awake. This was real. That thing outside my window was real. My body was frozen in a state of pure, primal fear. I couldn't look away from those terrifying empty eyes. It felt like it was looking right through me, into my very soul. Then it moved. One of its long, spindly fingers, ending in a jagged black nail, slowly rose and tapped on the glass again. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was deafening now, echoing the frantic beat of my own heart. It was a chilling, deliberate gesture. It knew I was there. It knew I was afraid. It was toying with me. I scrambled for my phone, my fingers fumbling on the screen. I had to get help. As I dialed 911, my eyes darted back to the window. The creature was gone. The yard was empty again, just the silent, watching trees. I hung up the phone before the call connected, my mind in turmoil. Had I imagined it all? Was the isolation finally getting to me? For a long time, I just stood there, staring out into the darkness, my body shaking. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with every light in the house on, listening to every creak and groan, my heart leaping at every gust of wind. The morning sun brought a fragile sense of relief, but the memory of those black eyes was burned into my mind. The next day, I searched online for local legends, for any mention of strange creatures in the area. I found nothing. I tried to convince myself it was a prank, some sick joke. But the image of that pale, gaunt face was too vivid, too real. The following night, I dreaded the sunset. As darkness fell, I closed every curtain in the house, blocking out the night. I tried to distract myself with music, with a movie, but I was constantly on edge, listening. And then I heard it. Not from the study window this time. It was coming from the kitchen. Tap, tap, tap. It was back, and it was moving around the house. My breath hitched in my throat. I was trapped. I was a mouse in a box, and something terrible was trying to get in. I grabbed the heaviest knife from the kitchen block, my knuckles white. The tapping stopped, and a moment later, I heard it at the living room window. Tap, tap. It was circling the house, testing the windows, one by one. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. What did it want? Why was it tormenting me? I huddled in the center of the living room, away from all the windows, the knife held out in front of me. The silence between the tapping was almost worse than the sound itself, filled with a dreadful anticipation. Then I heard a new sound, a faint scratching. It was coming from the front door. It was trying the lock, a low scraping sound like metal on metal. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I backed away from the door, my eyes wide with terror, until my back hit the wall. The scratching grew louder, more frantic. The doorknob began to jiggle. I knew I couldn't stay here. It was going to get in. In a desperate surge of adrenaline, I ran for the back door, flung it open, and sprinted out into the cold night air. I didn't look back. I just ran. I ran through the dark woods, branches whipping at my face, my lungs burning. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away from that house, away from that thing. I eventually stumbled onto a road and flagged down a passing car. The driver, a kind-faced older woman, took one look at my terrified face and let me in without question. I never went back to that house. I left everything behind, my books, my clothes, my writing. None of it mattered. I still have nightmares about it. About that pale, skeletal face and those deep, black eyes. Sometimes when it's quiet at night, I think I can hear a faint tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. I don't know what that creature was or what it wanted. But I know it's still out there, somewhere in the darkness. And I know it was waiting for me. I just don't know why. I hope I never find out.